got sick this week for the third time in a month. And not just the sniffles, the kind of sick that knocks you off your feet a bit. That is really disheartening when it happens over and over and over again. It makes me want to stay on this couch and rot forever. Or at least until, I feel better. And sometimes that helps.
Sometimes rotting on the couch is necessary when your body is telling you to just shut the switch off and rest. But sometimes it's more helpful to move through it. It's more of a gentle nudging to keep moving, a gentle doing of the things. This past year, I've really come to listen to my needs more. Maybe it's a part of growing up and realizing a lot of the ways I've been doing things aren't particularly helpful and sometimes even harmful. Things really started shifting for me in 2024. I felt like I was waking up from a deep sleep that had lasted years. I just felt different. I wasn't inherently different, but I wanted to break some old habits that weren't getting me to where I wanted to go. So last March, I decided I wanted to start running again. I hadn't regularly run since I stopped playing field hockey in college, so it had been about 19 years since I had any kind of training program. I knew that if I just started running without a plan, the habit wouldn't stick. I would lose momentum and eventually just stop. That had been my pattern with exercising and other things over the years.
Oh, we gotta change sides. Oh, yeah, that feels better. I found that when nobody else was holding me accountable, I didn't have practice to go to, I didn't have a game to train for, I didn't have any kind of end goal. I was not good at follow through. But so I could never quite form that kind of healthy habit.
I started really small. I found a Couch to 5K training program on YouTube, and it began with me running for 30 seconds and walking for 90. And I repeated that 6 times or something on the first day.
And that built up over a period of 8 weeks. So it's very slow, very incremental, and super manageable. After my 5K, I wanted to keep going. So I found a 5K to 10K program, a 10K to half marathon, and I'm currently 16 weeks away from my very first ever marathon. And it's wild. I never considered myself to be a long distance runner, and I still don't really. The only time that I ran long distances was to stay in shape for whatever sport was coming up. I was never running long distances just to run long distances. It always had a purpose. I've really come to love it. It's become such a moving meditation space for me.
But there have been weeks that I just couldn't go out and run because of time constraints or because I was sick again. But I keep finding my way back to the road or the trail. Running was the first step of finding a way back to myself last year. Movement had been an important part of my life for so much of my childhood, but in my young adulthood, it just fell away.
8 years ago, when I left St. Thomas, I was lost and a little bit broken. I didn't feel like that at the time, but I realized that I didn't have the emotional capacity to deal with anybody else but myself and this guy. And I barely had the emotional capacity to deal with this.
After 9 months of being in Denver, I moved further west to Carbondale, Colorado. After working a super high-end restaurant in Aspen for 6 months, I moved to California. 4 months after that, after narrowly escaping a mudslide, I moved to Oregon. Another 8 months after that, I was back in Colorado, which was late 2019. When I came back to Colorado, it felt like a new beginning, like I could reset and start again. When the pandemic shut the world down 4 months after moving there, it was the first time since I moved to New York that I was in one place for longer than 9 months. The pandemic forced me to not only slow down, but to literally stop moving and deal with my shit.
I thought when I left New York that I was running towards the life I wanted. But it turns out I was running away from all of the pain and insecurity that I didn't want to deal with. And you know what they say? No matter where you go, there you are. You literally can't run away from yourself. But I tried. I tried really hard. When we slow down and take out a lot of the noise, and really listen, our bodies can tell us a lot. It's actually really amazing. I ignored my own for so long. Not dealing with the bulging disc in my back, not doing my physical therapy exercises, not sleeping enough, drinking way too much, working for sometimes 17 hours on my feet in one day. It's pretty easy to do in your 20s, I guess. You bounce back pretty well, and it's really easy to kind of ignore the smaller symptoms. But then you hit 35 and all of that goes away, like overnight. Your hangovers now last for 3 days. You immediately have joint pain, and you turn your head to look at something, and now you have a crick in your neck that doesn't go away. It can feel like a betrayal, like your body is abandoning you. But in reality, it's just trying to tell you something. In my case, it was trying to tell me many things. I got panic attacks when I was down in St. Thomas. I had never gotten panic attacks up until then, and I haven't had one since. My body was trying to tell me something, and I didn't listen. But when I finally stopped and started to hear what my body was telling me, I really learned a lot. I learned that my body hurt without movement. I realized that I wanted to start moving again in a way that felt good. And I didn't think running would be it, to be honest, but I gave it a shot, and it's a good fit for me at this point. I realized how much my body didn't like alcohol. I had been working in restaurants and the wine industry for a while, and it's just part of the culture. And you want to share good wine with good people. That's one of my favorite things. And I still have the occasional glass of wine. I still love wine, but I just realized how much better my body feels when I'm not drinking regularly. I also realized how much sleep I needed to be a real human. And I know how basic all of these things sound, and I knew them intellectually, but it wasn't until I actually put them into practice that I realized how much of an impact they had on my life.
And it wasn't just physical things about my body, but those were plenty. Once I started listening to my body on a regular basis, my creativity exploded. Colors were more vibrant, my imagination started expanding, and the pull to start making again was so strong, I couldn't ignore it.
Once I felt my creativity coming back and I started making things again, I tried really hard not to take myself so seriously.
I tried to let go of any expectations of what I thought my life should be and just started to focus on where I was and what I could do. Breaking down my training into manageable chunks so that I could eventually run a marathon made me realize that I could do the same for my creative life, for the career I want to build. I certainly didn't think last March I would be training for a marathon. I also didn't realize how much my running would positively impact my creativity.
I felt creativity was always this ethereal thing that comes at you from the universe, and you just gotta fly by the seat of your pants and go where the moment takes you. And I think to a certain extent there has to be space for that, but creativity needs guide rails, just like running. You start with 30-second run and a 90-second walk so that you can eventually build to running a marathon.
When it comes to creativity and working as an artist, you just got to sit down with your art supplies and get to it. You start scribbling in your sketchbook or writing for an hour every day or making books with leftover supplies you have. Whatever the medium is, you just start where you are. I just have to remind myself that good things take time and a lot of listening and adjusting. By the time I run my marathon in May, it will have been over a year of building towards that goal. Building any kind of practice sustainably doesn't happen overnight, but it's worth working towards your goals even if you can only work on little chunks at a time. Even if you've put your own goals on the sidelines for years and haven't listened to your intuition, you can always come back to them.
It's taken me 8 years to find a way back to myself so that I can start again. We all got to start somewhere.